Nick, it's really, really nice to see you again. And I'm ashamed it's on Zoom and you couldn't be with us up in Newcastle at our new hub, but thanks so much for taking the time. With me is Tommy Watson, who is leading for Walking with the Wounded up in the Northeast. You'll remember Gary Lamb from Manchester, where you so kindly helped us with your DIY boys and girls to launch the hub in Manchester over 5 years ago. And we've taken that model and we're doing something similar up in Newcastle. And what I'd love Tommy to be able to do is just in a minute show you around.
Welcome to the Northeast. My name's Tommy Watson and I'm the regional lead for Walking with the Wounded up here, currently in North Shields. To add a wee bit of context to what we've done, we first went operational in mid-2019 is when we started taking on beneficiaries. And we started off our big relationship in the Northeast with Gateshead Council. We are currently based with Gateshead Council there in a 6-man desk space based at the Civic Centre. And we've developed a fantastic wide relationship with various corporate, council, government organisations. And we've been expanding our footprint across the Northeast. At the start of this year, we started a relationship, a really tight partnership with a social housing organisation called MySpace Housing. That started off a conversation about how Walking with Wounded could work with a social landlord in a housing setting looking after homeless veterans. And MySpace were in the process of setting up a Northeast housing unit based in North Shields to house up to 10 veterans. And at the moment, we're currently standing in a building called the Walker Building. Upstairs, there are currently 9 veterans currently housed who have all came from various locations across the UK, referrals in mainly from our Project Nova programme, who deal with guys that are on the fringes of the criminal justice system. We set up that relationship and we started a planning process that, given a very, very limited budget, we started looking at building a partnership between January and March that would see us developing quite a large hub space that would provide a community area, a research and IT area, a team support area, training area, and a one-to-one area. We brought in lots of services, and like Nick on DIY SOS, it was all about getting corporate buy-in, getting them to buy into the idea that we should be supporting veterans, we can provide regional support, and the hub is going to be the central point in the Northeast for us to deliver our services in employability, family welfare support, criminal justice, and care coordination as we move into our relationships with the NHS.
Really like that. I've been, I was obviously, you know, we've stayed in contact since we built that. You've not allowed me to escape from the clutches of Walking with the Wounded and indeed the veteran community. So I've sort of seen the thing grow and seen it, you know, from the first point where you were looking for someone to run it and then someone to, you know, to oversee the whole thing and then develop the thing and then to try and draw in all the trades from, you know, industry and various other people and supporters. So I think it's a fantastic achievement. And the truth is, as much as I'd love to be there to be looking around it, the key thing is that the people who can get in there are the people that desperately need it, and that's the veterans who find themselves homeless or without the support to get a job. So as long as they can access it, I'm happy with a virtual tour. Some years ago, Ed and I had a cup of coffee in London and talked about what was needed in the north and for Walking with the Wounded, and came up with the idea for Canada Street, which we were able to do there with DIY SOS and build that veterans hub, as well as, you know, accommodation for in the street in Canada Street in Manchester, which has proved to be such a huge success. And now it's great to see the charities extending up into the Northeast. So why are you setting up in the Northeast? What is the need in the Northeast?
At the moment, there is actually quite a good support network up here, but it is it's very generic. It's not bespoke. So at the moment, you can access employability, you can access housing support, you can access welfare support. But Walking with the Wounded deliver quite a unique service, and it's all based on care coordination. So at the moment, there is a real need in relation to housing, welfare, over the past 6 months, we've seen a rise, especially with COVID-19, and things like the rise in mental health, issues really, really badly around about social isolation, so veterans in lockdown. And at the moment, we're now just starting to tick into that period when furloughs ending, employability starting to become a real issue. And what we want to provide that wraparound service for individuals. So there is quite a high need. We picked up around 250 veterans since the middle of last year, mainly in the vulnerable veteran environment. So that there really is a need up here in the North East, Nick.
So that was interesting, because I was going to ask you, because you have opened in 2019, almost before the building was complete. You opened in 2019, how many people you'd helped? But that's it. Is it a 250? That's a lot in a short time.
And we take referrals from a number of directions. So we work in partnership with an organisation called the Armed Forces Outreach Service in Gateshead, and they are based within the housing units of each of the councils. So Gateshead, Newcastle, up in Northumberland, Durham, and in North Tyneside as well. They pick up individuals in crisis, carry out a triage process, and then they refer through to us. So we pick up quite a few referrals that are given in through the councils. And we also pick up a lot of referrals from the NHS, and that's on the rise just now.
Ed, what's this going to mean for the charity then, actually having this extended reach up into the North East?
Well, for us, we're trying to do what we do nationally. And we've learned since we've been in Manchester and now up with Tommy in the North East, that actually the most effective way to do what we do is within regional areas. There's so many nuances and variations between each region of the country. We don't want to just lay down a national footprint. We've got to do it piece by piece regionally. So this is just the next move for us to get that national coverage through these regional hubs, and more will follow.
When we did the one in Manchester, that was actually quite a new idea, wasn't it? Were you that convinced that actually having a hub in the area had a much greater effect than operating at a distance?
Did we know? The answer to that is we didn't, but we had a hunch. And you and the team gave us that opportunity to see that hunch through, and we were right. And it's being in the heart of the community, having boots on the ground, being able to talk to local organisations. Our relationship with local government and local health services is so crucial. You can't sit somewhere else in the country and manage that relationship. So what you allowed us to test, as it was really in Manchester, turned out it worked, and we've refined it, and it's getting better and better.
That's actually really interesting. I think part of the process of developing that relationship came with building it in partnership, because the people were very often on the ground there that we were talking to. We developed a relationship during the course of the build. It became everybody's ambition, and everybody owned it. And so going forward, you were less likely to lose those partnerships that you developed, I think.
What's been really interesting is when we were in Manchester, there wasn't really a strong local authority strategy for veterans. That's now been built, and we've been one of the key parts of that. Where Tommy is, Tommy mentioned AFOS, which is the Gateshead Council outreach service for veterans. It's a really, really 5-star service. And so we've got the advantage of being able to leverage off that to actually, we're going to have more impact quicker because of that. And it's a model that I would urge other local authorities to look at.
Yeah, look, the hub services that are on Walking with the Wounded are obviously in part. Yeah, look, the hub services that are on Walking with the Wounded are obviously in partnership with a number of local organisations. I think you just mentioned MySpace Housing Solutions, Tommy. I know we had a huge amount of support from local businesses from Manchester. People like Phil Juniper and Vocational Skills Solution, Andy Wright and A-Plant, now Sunbelt Rentals, and Andy Waits at Waits Construction. Who stepped forward for you to help you where you are?
The initial conversation that I had was actually with an ex-Forces facilities manager called Tony Phillips. And Tony is actually the National Facilities Manager for Mighty in partnership with the Lloyds Banking Group. And myself and Tony set up a relationship and an idea based on them facilitating the interior. They obviously do lots of large strip outs and refits for lots of big companies. And they get access to lots of infrastructure. And myself, Tony, and a guy called Terry Cowley from Apleone HSG, who are another facilities management company, hatched a plan that would financially back the infrastructure that was going to come into the project itself. And we've been working since day one, right back in sort of February, March time, coming up with this plan to bring in all the services. Other organisations that we work closely with is we've got a really good partnership with an IT company, big technology company called DXE Technology, again driven by a guy called David Coates, and they guys have came in and provided all of the computer systems for the system. We've got Fortem come in and sorted out the lighting, the electrics, and got things off the ground. We set up a relationship with one of the national managers of ground control, who do the ground maintenance, and at the minute they're currently in the back garden finishing off the garden project, so we'll probably pop our heads around the corner and say hello to them guys. And then there's some local services, so all the way down to White Knight maintenance company. Lee and his team have been absolutely fantastic, coming in and sorting out all the glitches. So when the plumbing was going wrong, the heating was going wrong, they came in and got on site. Dunelm jumped on board. They provided us with about £5,000 worth of furniture that we put in place, and then some really good organisations like North East Business Networks who came in and sorted out more IT and more Wi-Fi. So there's been lots of organisations coming on board to help us get through this process, and financially for us, the level of buy-in has been fantastic, Nick.
Ed, we've talked a lot about the fact that a modern charity going forward has to think in new ways about fundraising and how you go about building things. Collaboration's critical to that. I think the days of the ball once a year, playing heads and tails for £5 ago, and the auction of a Shane-worn cricket ball. I mean, look, there's a place for it, but the fact of the matter is, if you want an ongoing thing, you need to get involved with local businesses and have them buy in, present as an opportunity for those businesses to have buy-in with veterans, get access to veterans and see them as a potential workforce rather than as an issue in the area. That's always been critical to Walking with the Wounded, hasn't it? Forging those relationships.
Yeah, it's really important that I think the old charity model, there's just money going that way, and it was a relationship where charities would just sit there and say, can we have some more? And I think what we're learning increasingly is these have to be symbiotic relationships. They have to be circular. What can we give them? What can they give us? How do you develop that partnership? And how do you sustain it? Because we start each year having to raise, for us at the moment, around 4.5 million quid. If you start in January and it says 0.00 on your revenue line, that's really challenging. Actually, what you want to do is build sustained, recurrent income streams, and the relationships that the likes of which that Tommy has and that we're developing around the country, particularly for us, key to everything is the NHS. We do start the year and it doesn't say 0.00, but it's beginning to be quite a meaningful number we start the year with, and what that means is we can sustain the services to the veterans who we support, and that's the be all and end all.
Yeah, no, you and I have always seen eye to eye on that, and it's definitely the way forward. And it like you say, it takes the edge off. Not that it's not difficult raising the funds to keep the thing going, but it opens next Wednesday, I think, isn't it? Remembrance Day, which seems appropriate. Now, Tommy? What are the services that Walking with the Wounded will be offering there? And indeed, how would a veteran who feels the need of services up in that part of the world get in contact?
Next Wednesday, Nick, when we open the doors, we will have a housing team here, and obviously the main relationship that we've got is with MySpace Housing Company. They can obviously provide a direct housing service. They'll be based with us in the hub, sitting with my team. There is a family welfare support service. There is an employability service. We've also got our Project Nova team here in the North East for veterans that are on the verge of the criminal justice system. And if anybody wants to access our services from anywhere in the UK, not just in the North East, we've actually got a referral page on our website. If you go onto our website, you can fill out a self-referral, and it will automatically push you through to the right individual at the right location that's closest to where you live. So if anybody at the moment that wants to get in touch with us, and you can do even right now, we're currently operational, delivering that service across the North East, then go and visit www.walkingwiththewounded.com and look at our page. And if you need support, whether that be housing, health, mental health, employability, or general advice and guidance in the veteran space, then just put in a referral and it'll push you straight through to us. Or you can find the contact number on the page itself, and you can speak to a member of our team.
We've talked about before, have we? One of the difficulties is actually getting veterans who need help to actually come forward and ask for help. In fact, we've talked to the police in various areas before up in Manchester to identify veterans, because as hard as their life may be, they might not necessarily volunteer the information they're veterans because they don't want to bring disrepute, as they see it, on their unit that they served with. So no matter how tough life can be, so getting them to actually come forward and ask for that help is often difficult.
Isn't it?
Yeah, I think
there are certain of the veterans environment that kind of struggle to put their hand up, especially guys that's involved in the criminal justice system, or veterans that are a bit too proud to put their hand up and say that they really need help. The good thing is at the moment, there are more veterans coming forward, especially with the advent of social media. There are lots and lots of veterans pages across the UK that we're linked to. We work with different organisations, so we are currently linked to local police service up here through Project Nova. We work in partnership with the Royal British Legion, SAFA, there's the Armed Forces Outreach Service, there's Finkel College. So there's a number of organisations there that are actually in the community doing work. And we obviously advertise quite heavily for veterans to actually put their hand up and ask for help. But you're right, there is an element there of individuals that are in the community and hard to reach. And I know that is a big thing that Ed is currently looking at a minute, is how do we make sure that we're reaching in there and informing people about exactly what we do and exactly how they access our services.
Well, it's interesting, Ed, isn't it? Because very often veterans will not want to be a burden, but in actual fact, that when you audited Canada Street, by removing veterans from the criminal justice system and taking them through maybe a mental health process or jobs and opportunities and housing, you end up saving the taxpayer money.
It's a really simple model. It's quite a hard one to value, but it's a very simple model. And actually, we're working with the police now, and I think 22 or 23 of the 42 police services in the country, and they get it. They absolutely get that what we're able to do is support them. It's also doing it with the NHS Veteran Mental Health Services. We provide them extra capacity. We provide them a little bit of knowledge. We also provide the veteran choice, and so it is going to save the taxpayer money. And then when we're ultimately successful and the individual we've been working with is back in life, he becomes a taxpayer. So there are so many ways that there are benefits to society, social value. And so it's something we're very conscious of.
Couple more questions before we get on the tour, if you don't mind. Tommy, what's the practical impact that this is going to have on veterans' lives up there?
Huge, Nick. So the guys that are on site at the moment, they will be able to directly access this site. Obviously, thinking about COVID, there'll be lots of considerations being taken in. However, it's a very COVID-friendly location that we're currently opening up. There's lots of space. There's plenty of opportunity for face-to-face, although not at the moment. But the impact at the moment is already taking shape. So upstairs, we've got guys that have been homeless for a period of time. We've got guys with a relationship breakdown, guys with addictions, guys with financial problems, and guys coming from the criminal justice system. All of the guys have already started accessing our services, and we started that at the very start of the relationship with MySpace. And we've already got guys like Ricky, and he had quite a long journey. So Ricky started off in the criminal justice system in Doncaster. He had a veteran support worker inside the wire who is now working for us on our NHS programme. And he was referred from Doncaster through the Project Nova programme back into the North East, back to his hometown. He was then picked up by a Nova coordinator, and he was then referred into MySpace housing for housing support. And at that stage, he was then picked up by the Walk with the Wounded employability advisor. He's went from homelessness, criminality. He's now housed. He was due to start his HGV training in a week's time that we managed to get him funding for, about £1,500. He's currently got a part-time job at the minute to get him reintegrated back into society again. And probably by the end of this year, Ricky will be back there in society, paying his way, and we'll be looking at moving him out of this supported accommodation into supported accommodation. So the impact is profound for individuals that are really struggling and been taken through that care coordination process.
And that's fantastic, and obviously key to what everything that's done up there. But I'm also aware when we do this kind of conversation, Ed, that we end up talking about the criminal justice system, we talk about addiction, we talk about mental health, and it then gives people a misunderstanding, Ed, that that people, when they leave the military, have all of these issues, when many leave and reintegrate to society very well. Yes, some have these addiction and mental health problems or criminal justice problems, but there's also a bunch of people in like between the two that just can't seem to get a foothold back in life. And there's a bunch of people, and trying to get people not to just think of them veterans as an issue, but as a resource is critically important, because there's some incredibly well-trained, capable people in many different skills out there, don't you think?
Yeah, I think, Nick, you've hit the nail on the head. I think for too long we have been talking about veterans as victims, and for too long we've been focusing on challenges and issues they may face, and the majority of us do leave the services, and do you know what? We become incredibly valuable to society. And actually what we want to do is we want to change the language and get people to recognise that those people who've served in the military are an asset to their family, they're an asset to the community, and they're an asset to the workplace. They've been trained, they understand discipline, they work in teams, they've got an enormous sense of service. And so we as a community, we as a country must recognise the inherent value of this group of men and women and actually take advantage of it. Rather than going around going, you know, oh, woe is them, they've had a tough old time. That's not how we should behave. When they do have trouble, as anyone in society may have, we're here to give them some support to get them just back on the rails, and as Tommy said, back into society. Yeah,
no, absolutely. It's a clarion call that a drum I've been beating for some time, to mix my metaphors, but you know, to see there's potential in these people. And I mean, just as a quick example, that Hull for Heroes up in Hull, who have been doing an amazing job during lockdown of providing hot food for emergency services, looking after the homeless, delivering food parcels to people, and kind of organise themselves. But that's what the armed forces can do. That's what veterans can do. They know how to do that kind of thing, and they've done it brilliantly. And actually, up there, they're truly valued because of their reaction during lockdown. I'd kind of like other areas to value them in the same way without them actually having to have a COVID lockdown to go through. There's one last thing I wanted to chat, Tommy. I understand that you've been trying to top trump us down in Canada Street in Manchester by building some kind of giant mural. What's this, a giant mural of Ed?
Yeah, so on the side of this building, when I take you through the walkthrough, you'll note that there's lots of window space down the right-hand side, and there's a huge shutter space that runs the length of the building. So we've got a guy called Cy King, who is a street artist, and Cy's going to be coming in this Friday and Saturday. He's coming up here tonight, and he's going to stay over, and he's going to produce probably about a 75-foot long poppy mural that's going to run the length of the building. He's going to get done for this weekend, ready for Remembrance Day. So it'll have a really good impact for the 11th.
Brilliant. No pressure on him then, with the remembrance coming up so very soon. Well, look, I don't know about you, Ed, but I'm ready for a tour. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd love to see it. I haven't seen it. I've been stuck down here, and so this is my first time around.
Brilliant. And me too.